So remember the apostrophe every time you're gonna put a short version. And then we have the interrogative part. Am I? Are you? So why is it important to check the interrogative? Because if you see here, first we have the verb to be, and then we have the person or the subject, okay? So every time you're going to make a question with the verb to be, you have to change positions. If it was affirmative, you will say, I am Elizabeth Cruz, for example. But if I was going to make a question, I will have to say, am I Elizabeth Cruz? You see? So we have to change the position between verb to be and the subject of the questions, okay? Then we have the verb to be in past tense. As I said before, past tense is an irregular verb. The verb to be, is an irregular verb. So we cannot say like are and at, the or ed at the end, okay? So the past of the verb to be is was and were. Was for the first and were for the singular plural, okay? And for the third person, he, she, it is was also. So remember, was and were are the past of verb to be. And for the perfect form, remember that we have the perfect form, the present perfect in English, that is I have been. Okay, so for example, I have been to Bucaramanga 3 times. In Spanish it will be yo he estado en Bucaramanga 3 veces. So if you check, it's the same as in Spanish, the perfect form. Have been, he estado. Okay? So this is a different way of the verb to be, and that is why it is different here. Okay? Remember that if you have any question, write it down and you have the opportunity to ask at the end of the session. Okay? Good. So let's check the first. So this is the first case of the use of the verb to be with simple questions. So first we have simple question. We create simple yes or no questions by inverting the order of subject and the to be verb, okay? So inverting, as I was telling you, is your brother taller than you? So first is verb to be and then the subject. If you were going to have it in affirmative, you will say your brother is, okay? But here we have the inversion, okay? Is your brother taller than you? Am I bothering you? Or were they embarrassed by the comedian? So, for example, the second question say, am I bothering you? ¿Te estoy molestando? Yes? So this is a way to create simple yes or no questions. Why we say simple yes or no questions? Because when you ask the questions, you don't need any extra information. I can answer with a simple yes or no. Okay? Then we have the same inversion takes place when verb to be is combined with verbs in progressive. So remember, the progressive is the one that we use ing, okay? Or the present continuous. As you know, it is in school, most of the time you watch the progressive time as the present continuous. So if I will make a question with verb to be combined with the progressive time, I will say, am I working with you today? That is also, am I working with you today? Yes, no, you're not. Is it snowing in the mountains? Yes, no. You see, this is also a yes, no question. You do not need any extra information to answer the question. So, we have the inversion as here in here. Were your children driving home this weekend? Yes, they were. No, they weren't. Okay? Good. So this is to be with simple questions. Let's check the next case. Linking an existential to be. I'm going to go a little bit slowly so that you can understand completely the use of linking an existential to be. Oops, I forgot to put a T here. Okay. The verb to be most frequently works in conjunction. In conjunction is together with another verb. So, for example, we have verb to be and the verb playing. You see? Verb to be, and we have another verb to complete. So he is playing the piano. Yeah, so he is playing the piano. But also the verb will stand by itself. So in some cases, verb to be will need another verb, yes, to complete the idea. But not in all of the cases. There are some cases in which you talk about existence, in which you don't need to put any other verb. Just verb to be is enough to explain the situation. Yes? This is especially true in simple, brief answers to questions. For example, who is going to the movies with me? I am. Yes? You don't need to put going. I am going, so that the sentence is understood. You just need to respond, I am. And verb to be will stand or to be alone with no problem. And the sentence will be understood without any problems. Who's responsible for this mess in the bathroom? She is. You don't need to answer anything else. And verb to be is standing alone with no complementary information or any other verb. Okay? So most of the time, this is an existential to be. I am, she is. You know the translation. Who is responsible for the mess? Ella fue. You see? ¿Quién es responsable por este desorden en el baño? Ella es responsable. So we're talking about existentialism. So that's she exists and the fact exists. Okay? Let's check what other information we have. So an auxiliary can be combined with the base from the verb to be to provide simple answers to questions that use forms of to be. Is Heather in class this morning? Well, he might be. So this, as an auxiliary, this is the verb might that is an auxiliary. And it needs to be completed by the verb to be for the idea to be understood. Okay? So, we have, is Heather in class this morning? Well, he might be. He might be. It's a correct answer, and this is an auxiliary verb completed with verb to be. Why with verb to be? Because, again, we are talking about existential. Is anyone helping Heather with his homework? I'm not sure. Suzanne could be. Yeah? If we will say this in Spanish, we will say, for example, ¿está alguien ayudando a Héctor con su tarea? No estoy seguro. Susana podría estar. En español nosotros podríamos decir el podría sin el estar. Susana podría estar ayudándolo, ¿no es cierto? So maybe in Spanish we don't need to use it, but in English you cannot use in this way an auxiliary verb without the verb to be. If you don't use it, the sentence is incomplete. Okay, guys? Remember, write all the questions because I know you're going to have a lot of questions at the end. So we are going to go back to the diagrams and the examples and check all your questions and all the doubts. Good. The verb to be also acts as a linking verb. Okay? You know a linking verb is the one that links, connects two parts of a sentence, okay, or two sentences. So let's check. So the verb to be also acts as a linking verb, joining the sentence subject with a subject complement. So the sentence subject is the person, yes, the subject, with a subject complement or an adjective complement. So the subject complement and the adjective complement, I'm going to explain right now, okay? A linking verb provides no action to a sentence. So it's important to know that when you use the verb to be in a sentence as a linking verb, it is not an action. Normally, verb to be is ser or estar. But here, it is just linking the sentences, but it doesn't have any action. It doesn't represent ser or estar. It's just connecting the two sentences. So, for example, Professor Moriver is the director of online learning. Yes? So we are saying es. Just connecting Professor Moriver, that is the sentence subject, with the subject complement. This here is a subject complement. Why? Because we are talking about the subject. The information that I am providing here is information that is about this subject. So I'm saying that the director of online learning is Professor Moriver. Yes? I'm giving information about him. That is the subject complement. And then we have the adjective complement. Our trip to Yellowstone was fantastic. Yes? So here it is just acting as a linking verb. Our trip to Yellowstone made the trip. Here will be the subject. And the adjective complement. Fantastic. You know, an adjective is a word we use. It's a word we use to describe, right? To describe a person, an object. So our trip to Yellowstone was fantastic. We are just joining the subject here, that will be the trip, to this adjective or adjective that complements the idea that is fantastic. Okay? I know that you're having problems with the listening of the video and maybe watching, but don't worry that our technicians are working right now to fix the problem. Let's try to pay attention to as much as we can to the information, and if you have any questions at the end, if we have the opportunity to fix the problem, I'm gonna check. Okay? Okay, I know you're maybe getting lost because of the information, but again, write down your questions, and at the end, I'm gonna check with you all the information and all the questions that you have. Good. Now we have the progressive forms. I told you that verb to be was complicated. It is not as we think it is. It is a little bit complicated. Okay? Give me 1 second, guys. No puedo. ¿Así o para abajo? Okay. Okay, sorry guys, we're just having little technical problems, but do you want me to speak a little bit more in Spanish? Okay, I'm sorry that we're trying to fix the problem, and I'm gonna try to speak maybe a little bit slow and explain as much as possible, okay? And remember, at the end, make all the questions that we have all the time. Good. So the progressive forms. Remember that the progressive forms are like the verb to be, are like the present continuous. Entonces, voy a hablar un poquito en español porque veo que están un poquito confundidos. Las formas progresivas, acuérdense que son como el presente continuo, que al final siempre incluye la ing para complementar el verbo, ¿ok? Entonces, vamos a hablar de las formas progresivas que incluyen al verbo to be o el verbo ser o estar. Entonces, la primera forma progresiva es para describir acciones que ya están en proceso en el momento en el que estamos hablando, ¿ok? To describe an action already in progress at the moment in focus within the sentence. Cuando digo in focus es que estamos hablando de un momento en específico, y en ese momento en específico se está hablando de una acción que está en progreso, ¿ok? Entonces vamos a ver un ejemplo. I was doing my homework when my brother broke into my room crying. Entonces, ¿qué tenemos? Yo estaba haciendo la tarea cuando mi hermano entró a la habitación llorando. Entonces son dos acciones que están pasando al mismo tiempo, ¿no es cierto? Entonces la acción está en proceso y pasa otra acción. Entonces aquí tenemos que complementar el verbo ser o estar con ing, ¿ok? I was doing my homework. Entonces yo estaba haciendo mi tarea cuando mi hermano entró en mi habitación llorando. ¿Listo? I was doing my homework. Muy bien, las formas que tienen ing. O tenemos aquí, I will be congratulating from college about the same time that you enter I will be graduating from college about the same time that you enter high school. Aquí estamos hablando del futuro, ¿no es cierto? Pero entonces estamos hablando del futuro con el verbo ser o estar y lo mismo, una forma progresiva que termina en ing. Yo me estaré graduando de la universidad al momento en el que tú estás entrando bachillerato, ¿no es cierto? Entonces estamos hablando igual lo que decía arriba en la explicación. Una forma de progresivo es cuando hablamos de dos acciones que están pasando al mismo tiempo, pero entonces una ya está en acción. Aquí, ¿cuál estaba en acción? La tarea. Ella estaba haciendo la tarea. O él estaba haciendo la tarea. ¿Y cuál estará aquí en progreso? La graduación. Esa ya va a estar en progreso. ¿Listo? Then we have the second progressive form that is to describe actions at the moment of focus in contrast to habitual actions. Entonces, para describir acciones en el momento del que estamos hablando, en contraste con como cosas que pasan comúnmente. ¿Listo? As in, we usually buy the most inexpensive car we can find. But this time we're buying a luxury sedan. Entonces, ¿qué pasa? Que normalmente comprarían un carro barato, pero esta vez están comprando un carro más costoso, ¿ok? Entonces estamos comparando una situación actual con una pasada. Para poder hacer eso necesitamos usar el verbo ser o estar y incluir la ing para completar el verbo. Ok. Para expresar acciones repetidas, to express repeated action. As in, my grandfather is forever retelling the same story about his adventures in Rangoon. Entonces, mi abuelo siempre está diciendo lo mismo, ¿no es cierto? Entonces, para estar hablando siempre, por estar diciendo que siempre está hablando de lo mismo, porque es una acción repetida, entonces tenemos el verbo ser o estar y la terminación del otro verbo con ing. To describe temporary situations in contrast to permanent states. Entonces, para describir situaciones temporales en contraste con estados permanentes. Como en este ejemplo. Jeffrey goes to the University of Connecticut, but this summer he's taking courses at the community college. So what is the temporary situation? That he's taking courses at the community college, because he always goes to the University of Connecticut. So that is the permanent state. He always goes to the Connecticut University. But this time, that is a temporary situation, he's taking some courses at the community college. Okay? To express uncompleted actions, as in Harvey and Mark are working on their deck. Entonces, uncompleted actions, acciones que no se han completado. Como yo digo, estoy haciendo mi tarea. En este momento la estoy haciendo, pero no la he terminado. Es lo que quiero expresar. ¿Ok? Entonces, Harvey and Mark are working on their deck. Sería, yo estoy haciendo mi tarea. No la he terminado, la estoy haciendo en este momento. Como es lo que ustedes ya saben, el presente continuo. Okay. Now that we are going to finish, I'm going to go back. Remember that the idea of today was to check what the verb to be was, check the many uses that it has. So I showed you like 4 ways to use verb to be, but there are many others that are a lot more complicated than these ones that we saw today. I know that we have some problems with the video, and maybe that's why you have a little bit of problems understanding, but this is the moment to make the questions. So you are going to have some little time to think and make the questions that you have, and we can go back to the slides and check what are all the problems or possible things that you didn't understand. Okay? So you have a moment to think and write the questions in the chat box and tell me, and write the questions in the chat box, and then we're gonna check understanding. Okay guys, this is the end of the class. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a lot. If you didn't, you have to learn a lot more about verb to be, so try to check on the internet if you have any more questions.